Hello and welcome back to the channel. So you join me from Boughton Fen Nature Reserve, which is a small reserve about 15 minutes away from where I live. It's featured on a recent video where I tried to photograph marsh harriers, and the reason I've come here today is because I'm here to try out my new macro lens. So for Father's Day I received this 30mm F2.8 macro lens, and it's one of those lenses I didn't get round. There was always an excuse to not get it, like I'm saving for a G9 II or I want a fast telephoto prime. So to receive this as a gift means so much to me, and I can't wait to delve into the world of macro photography. It's something that I've started to realise is incredibly difficult with using a macro lens. With this lens in particular, the focusing distance is really close, so to achieve 1:1 you need to be about this far away from the lens, which poses issues. If you've got skittish insects, they might be scared and fly away. And yeah, it's the depth of field, particularly at f2.8, is so thin that it's extremely challenging. And obviously in the UK, where it's quite often windy, it can obviously be quite hard to focus as well. But yeah, general first impressions is it balances amazingly on the G9. It's just a straight to let's get to business lens. It just has a focusing ring. It's got dual image stabilization with the G9, which is really cool. No weather sealing, which is a bit unfortunate in the UK. It's just as sharp as the Panasonic Leica version of the lens and the Olympus is. But this is more of a macro slash, it's more useful for general photography, because 30mm at f2.8, I actually sold my 25mm f1.7 some time ago. So I took some test shots of my son as like portraits, and it actually looks pretty nice. I know f2.8 on micro four thirds isn't going to look the same as full frame, but I quite like the depth of field with that. So yeah, let's get out into Boughton Fen Nature Reserve. It's a beautiful sunny day. That could pose a few issues with some of the insects and having highlights and that on them. What I've also got is a little light, because as I'm just starting off in macro photography, I don't have a flash or any other accessories, diffusers, stuff like that. So we're literally dealing with a macro lens, probably handheld, and if I need light, we've got this. So yeah, come join me on my first steps on my macro journey. Let's see how this lens performs. I've got basically the whole day here, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what I can get. So let's go. I've literally just started on the journey and already I've just encountered a murderous, huge looking hornet that was discovering me. So that was slightly concerning. But yeah, it looks like there's quite a lot of subjects on all these reeds. And yeah, let's see what I get. So I've just been in this little area here, photographing all manner of small insects. One thing that I've realised is that in such sunny conditions, it's really hard to avoid getting bright highlights on all the creatures. And even just a slight breeze is enough to knock things out of focus. But I think for a beginner, I got a few good shots. I'm starting to see why people think flash is almost vital for macro photography, because a lot of the time I'm having to stop down and then you're having to increase the ISO, because it's just a balance of trying to keep myself steady and having to keep a high enough shutter speed and then not going too high with the ISO. But I think I've got some alright results, considering I've had the dangers of stinging nettles and I'm getting absolutely bitten by mosquitoes, horseflies and everything else. So yeah, hazards of the job. But so far, I'm sure any proper macro photographer won't be impressed with my results. But yeah, you got to start somewhere. I think I've quite quickly cottoned on to the fact that bright sunlight just isn't conducive to good macro photography, which is why I'm now going into the shade at another part of the reserve just to see. Obviously the issue is if I could have a bit of both, shade that's well lit, that would be ideal because I don't have a flash. But yeah, I might have the opposite problem now, where I might not have enough light, but at least even if I get grainier images, they'll look a lot better than blown out highlights and just, yeah, oversaturated colours. So I'm just chilling out on a bench, just made a quick phone call to my father-in-law because my wife's mum is currently ill in hospital, so that was playing in my mind a little bit. So yeah, and then as I was on the phone, a kingfisher just flew over my head because just about 10 metres in front of me is a little stream. And I have seen kingfishers here before, but I definitely wasn't expecting that. And I wasn't prepared because I've still got the macro lens on. Initial sort of feelings is macro is a lot harder than I'd kind of anticipated. I like to be good at things from the get-go. Now I know probably for a beginner, maybe my shots are okay, I don't know. I'll have to review them on the computer. But yeah, it's a lot harder than I thought, and because it's 11:15 during the daytime, the sunlight is too harsh on any of the sort of plants and vegetation and the bugs themselves. And then when I go into the shade, I have the opposite problem of not really enough light. Now I can push the ISO up and use topaz denoise, and I probably will start getting the confidence to do that with macros. But yeah, like I said, I do like the handling of it. It's really, really good. It's just getting used to using manual focus. I've got focus peaking turned on. It's certainly nice to be out. It's the first, well, it's not the first, I'm lying a little bit, but probably the third or fourth day this year where I've actually felt warm in shorts and t-shirt. So even if I don't get the best results in the world, a day out in nature is never a wasted day. So yeah, I'm going to have a drink and set off down this path and see what else we can see. But yeah, the world of macro photography, awesome, incredible, seeing things up in such close detail, but a lot harder than I was anticipating. So I've just entered this area where there's a lot of dragonflies. Unfortunately, I can't capture them because they don't stay in one place for long at all. I think it's probably because of the time of day. They're quite active at this time. Early morning will probably be the best time to capture them. At the minute, the only real way is using a telephoto lens, but I'm here to do macro. So unless I can find a dragonfly that stays really still, I think they might be off the photography menu today. I'm going to head back to the van to have some lunch because, as you can probably tell now, the clouds have come out and it's now cloud sun, cloud sun, cloud sun, and I can't, it makes it incredibly hard to photograph with the wind as well, and with the fact that a lot of the creatures are on stinger nettles. I can't really grab the plant to try and stabilise it because, well, I've been stung by stinger nettles enough as it is today. So I'm now back in the van. Whilst I was walking back, I just was considering something because a lot of people say it's an advantage using micro four thirds for macro photography. And then I was thinking about it and I thought, okay, so if you're f4 on micro four thirds, you're going to be achieving the same sort of look as f8 on a full frame camera. But if you're at f8 on the full frame camera, you're going to have a 2-stop higher ISO. So working that all out, it basically means that it's not that there's an advantage to using micro four thirds for macro. It just means, from the way my maths works, it means they're exactly equal, because ISO 200 on a micro four thirds camera is going to look like ISO 800 on a full frame camera, and f4 is going to look like f8. So all that really I took from that is that they're exactly the same. But I guess the advantage will be that you can get an absolutely tiny, now the G9 isn't a tiny camera, it wasn't designed that way because it was designed to handle really well, but you can get tiny little cameras, and obviously the advantage also lies in this lens. It also means all the accessories that you get with it are smaller, generally cheaper and lighter, and yeah, that's and obviously the stabilization benefits as well, and that's where, you know, that particular advantage comes in. And we can talk about the sort of body specific things like focus stacking and post focus and all of that good stuff. That's not really an advantage in micro four thirds, that's just sort of brand specific. But anyway, that was interesting. My thoughts are, as I sort of suspected from the last few days using it, brilliant combination. I would just say that today I've been let down by the weather. It's as I've come back in the back, you can't make this up. You can never please me either. I'm always in the pursuit of perfection, and life definitely gets in the way of that. But yeah, the clouds have now come over whilst I'm in the van, which is incredibly useful. And yeah, it was just like I've mentioned before, all those kind of disadvantages were just stacking up to make life a little bit harder than usual. I mean, I'll look at the images back on the computer and we'll see if I've got anything good. But as I'm basically just learning macro photography. I think, like I said, learning flash. I've never used a flash before. I've used a pop-up flash on the G80, or was it the G7? Might have been both. But yeah, I've used a pop-up flash. I've got no idea what I'm doing with flash. So yeah, that's something I really need to look into. But all in all, it's a well-priced lens. Like I said, I can use it for many other things other than macro photography, which is really useful. I'm not a massive fan of how close you've got to get to achieve 1:1. Now, like I said, you don't always have to achieve 1:1 in macro photography, but I think most people buy a lens for macro for 1:1. So yeah, overwhelmingly positive. All the images look nice and sharp. I looked at, it was a photo magazine, and they had the sharpness test of this, and it was basically excellent sharpness up to, I think, f8, f9, and then good, and it drops off after that, after about f11, but it's still good throughout most of the range. So that's really awesome. It means that you're excellent to a full frame equivalent of about f18. So that's really, really useful, and you're also going to get diffraction from full frame cameras as you creep up. But yeah, I'm going to have a little chill out and hopefully have something to eat. If the weather stays overcast, there's a sheltered area to the reserve that I might head into just to see if I can benefit from that. And yeah, I'll see you back here either way. This will never not be cool, using a microwave in a camper van. How cool is that? So here's my nice bit of noodle action, and I think I'm going to watch a bit of Morton Hilmer doing some macro photography, because Morton's a bit of an inspiration, as we all know, and yeah, I'll see how he does things. I believe this part of the reserve should be a lot more sheltered, so I think I've got a bit more chance, but typically I come out the van and the sun comes out. Nice. So that was definitely a good call. It was a lot more sheltered. There were a lot of trees, grass and bushes to block out the wind, and I actually managed to get a shot of an azure damselfly and a few other bits and bobs. So that was nice. But yeah, all in all, it's been a great learning experience. Next time I do macro photography, I'll definitely come out when the lighting is a lot more favourable. Also when the wind is a lot less, which potentially means getting up really early in the morning. I think winter time could be a good time for macro photography, but in the south of the country we don't get too much sort of ice and snow, but that could be something to explore as we go on in the year. So yeah, all in all, pretty impressed with the lens. I just need to practice a technique. I noticed that I was reverting back to my old ways, which was trying to keep the ISO down as low as possible rather than potentially raising it and getting sharper shots. That's something that I need to get myself out of. That's what I was like when I first started wildlife photography with telephoto lenses. I've remedied that, but I need to sort that out for macro photography. But yeah, if you've got any questions on macro photography in general, or the 30mm Lumix macro lens, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. If you found this video useful, or you've enjoyed it, please hit it with a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. That means you'll be notified of any future videos I put out. I don't think this is going to be the last macro photography video I'll do. I think it's something that I'm definitely keen to explore and practice with a bit more. Maybe not just within the realms of sort of nature photography. Maybe I might practice it indoors, who knows. So yeah, drop in the comments what you'd like to see me do next. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and until next time.